Hi, I'm Holly. This is my brain dissection for anatomy and physiology lab. To start, we have the pia mater, arachnoid matter, and dura mater. They aren't present here, but they surround the brain. Starting with the outermost layer, the pia is the weakest layer, which provides blood to the brain. The arachnoid matter moves cerebrospinal fluid around the brain, and the dura mater is the strongest layer, and it's responsible for protecting the brain. Next, we have the gyri. These are little folds you can see all around the brain, which create a larger surface area in the brain for increased cognitive function. Next is the cerebellum. This region of the brain is responsible for voluntary motor function and controls our balance and awareness of our body and how we move. Then we have the cerebrum. This contains parts of the brain that assist with voluntary movement, and it has parts of the brain responsible for maintaining homeostasis, specifically temperature. Then we can see the choroid plexus, which is located near the lateral ventricle, and it produces cerebrospinal fluid. Above that is the corpus callosum, and it surrounds the lateral ventricle, and it is responsible for allowing both hemispheres of the brain to communicate with both sides. The cortex of the cerebrum, it's the outer gray matter of the brain, and it's responsible for problem solving, emotions, memory, and many other things. Then we can see the cranial nerves. There are many of these nerves that run through the brain to relay information. There aren't many present, but if you look closely, you can see the stringy part here where one of the cranial nerves is. Then we have the dicephalon region, which contains the hypothalamus, thalamus, subthalamus, and epithalamus. This region is responsible for relaying different hormones and signals around the body to control homeostasis. Then we can see the gray matter in the brain, and it is responsible for voluntary actions like speech, movement, learning, and other mechanisms. It can also be very difficult to see as it appears in small branches. Then we can see the white matter, which surrounds the gray matter. This matter helps process information in the brain. As we view the hippocampus, it is difficult to see on this brain dissection, but it is located around the thalamus and hypothalamus in the dicephalon region. The hypothalamus is responsible for memory, learning, and emotions. As we view where the pituitary gland would be, it is not present on this dissection, but the pituitary gland is responsible for releasing the growth hormone in the body and regulates growth and metabolism. Next is the hypothalamus. It's located anterior to the thalamus and is responsible for our parasympathetic system, like managing blood pressure, hunger, sex drive, and temperature. Next is the medulla oblongata, and it's located on the spinal cord posterior to the pons and controls other parasympathetic functions such as heartbeat, breathing, and blood pressure. Next, we see the midbrain, and it is located superior to the pons, and it is responsible for processing the sensory information from our brain, such as visual and auditory information. The olfactory bulb is located on the anterior part of the brain, and it isn't very present here, but it processes information related to our sense of smell. Then we have the optic chiasma, and it's very difficult to see, but it would be located on the bottom of the brain near the middle, and it contains optic nerves that make a little X across the middle, but those nerves were removed before dissection, making it difficult to see. But it allows for the process of vision and relay of information from the eyes to brain. The pineal body is located posterior to the thalamus, and it produces melatonin and is responsible for regulating our sleep. The pons is located inferior to the midbrain and anterior and superior to the medulla oblongata. It is responsible for bridging information between the cerebellum and the rest of the brain. The sulci are the gray parts that surround each gyri, giving them their folds. The thalamus sits almost in the middle of the brain and processes large amounts of information related to our senses, except for smell. It is also responsible for awareness, memory, and learning. Next, we have the ventricles. The lateral ventricle is in the middle of the brain, and the third and fourth ventricles are located around the midbrain area. These ventricles are areas where cerebrospinal fluids circulate around the brain.